This is the African Queen. I want to welcome you to our show. We have moved We've moved our show. We are now on Tuesdays from 8 to 9. So thank you for joining us. So tonight we're just going to talk about the topic of taboo period, because this is something that has been a part of my life for quite some time in some way, shape, or form. For some reason, taboo topics are just attracted to me. So one of the reasons why I started doing Taboo Talk was because I feel that many of the topics that are taboo for us should not be taboo. So let's just talk about what taboo is. So there is several different definitions for taboo, but I'm going to read you the one from Webster's Dictionary. A social or religious custom prohibiting or forbidding discussion of its particular practice or forbidding association with a particular person, place, or thing. Many taboos have developed around physical exposure. So, you'll hear someone says, yeah, I went to a nude beach, and people like clasp their pearls like, oh my God, you went to a nude beach. Yeah, they went to a nude beach. They didn't have any clothes on and they went swimming. Okay, big deal. But for many people, that's a taboo. It's like, oh my goodness, how could you do that? Oh, how could you let someone see your naked body? And we tend to take our taboos in many cases, which are insecurities for many people, and then we not only live by these insecurities and these taboos, we then take them and we place them on other people. So one of the things that I've stressed for a very long time in my life is that almost nothing should be taboo. We should be comfortable expressing ourselves, even if our opinion is different than other people, whether something that I like or a lifestyle that I've chosen is different than the people around me. If I can accept a person for who they are, then obviously a person should be able to accept me for who I am. And I think one of the ways that we can get around this and be able to grow is to stop making things taboo. For a very long time, LGBTQ anything was taboo. For a really long time, biracial relationships were taboo. There's a very famous story called The Loving Family. White husband, black wife. They were actually jailed for loving each other. It was considered a taboo for races to mix. They actually ended up, so they wouldn't go back to jail, they had to live in separate homes and eventually in separate states. But they fought for their love. They wanted to make that love something that wasn't considered bad, different, or a taboo, and they were able to finally live their life and love each other the way that they wanted to. And everyone should have that right. LGBTQ people in our community should not be judged because they love differently than someone else. That's who they are. So we're going to talk about different taboos that not only do we have in our Black community, but that we see all over the world. So many of these topics we're going to hit on tonight. Some of them are sexual, some of them are funny, some of them are serious. But what will happen is over the next few weeks, you will see full-length shows on all of these individual topics. So the first topic that we're going to talk about, because unfortunately we are in the time of COVID, is dating in the time of COVID. So people don't want to date in the time of COVID. So a lot of people have become hermits in their homes. They don't leave the house. They don't think about sex. They don't think about the opposite sex. They don't think about, and they just, that's it. I'm closing myself off. And it's nothing wrong with dating in the time of COVID. There's nothing wrong with meeting new people. You just have to learn how to do it safely. So what kind of brought this subject to mind for me was I was reading an article about this lady. She's a photographer, and she does what she calls first date photography, where she matches two people up and then she photographs them during their date. And so she had set a whole bunch of them up prior to COVID, and then COVID hit. And she had been able to get through all of them but one. And so what she had to do was postpone that one. And so she allowed them to speak to each other. So for 2.5 months, this couple did nothing but talk on the phone and talk via like social media and stuff like that. And when that was over and they finally did their photo shoot on their first meeting face to face, you could look at these people and tell they were in love. It was the difference between her pictures of the people who met for the first time and never got to talk on the phone compared to this couple. It was night and day. And so this is proving that it is possible to date during COVID, and you can do it as long as you do it responsibly and you do it safely. So what did they do before their date to make it responsible and safe? Well, of course, like I said, they talked, but when they knew their date was coming, both of them quarantined. So for 2 months, they talked and they got to know each other. And then 2 weeks prior to their date, they quarantined. So they knew that they wanted to see each other. They knew that they wanted to hug, maybe possibly have a kiss. So they quarantined for 14 days so that when they finally got to see each other, they could do it safely. And that is something that is possible. So please don't think that just because we are in a time of COVID that you have to shut yourself off. Because right now, one of the things that we all need more than anything, and I know because this is something that I miss, is human contact. Now, I don't mean go out to the club and meet somebody and then no, just follow the example of the couple. If you meet somebody online, or if you've met somebody in the store when you had a mask on and y'all exchange numbers, that's fine. Make it very clear that you're going to be safe in this time of COVID because you have loved ones and yourself that you need to take care of, and then get to know each other. One of the things that a lot of people did prior to the COVID pandemic was a lot of people would meet somebody, and then the next thing you know, they was all booed up like 2 days later, and they was just like so in love. And so a lot of times we would jump into things a little bit early. Use COVID as an excuse to slow it down and get to know somebody. Use it as a way to get to know them. Play a game. There's this really cute game that you can play, and it's called the question game. So basically what you do is you ask the person a question. So you say, okay, what's your favorite dessert? And then they answer it. And then you have to answer it too. So they tell you their favorite dessert, you tell them your favorite dessert. And then next it's their turn to ask a question. But they ask you the question and you answer it, but they have to answer it too. It sounds silly, but it will really help you get to know somebody. So, don't allow COVID to make you a hermit. Don't disappear away in your big sweatpants and under the blanket every day. I know that this is not the most ideal situation that we're in right now, so we have to make it good for ourselves. So, talking about dating, let's go on to the next taboo. A lot of people consider one night stands taboo. More so for women than men. And what you're going to find out with a lot of the topics that we talk about that are quote unquote taboo topics, you see that there's usually more taboos for women than there are for men. And that's a whole nother thing that we're going to talk about. But let's talk about the one night stand. So basically a one night stand. I'll be honest, I've had a one night stand. I've probably had maybe 2 or 3 one night stands. Not ashamed of saying it. Is met somebody, went out on a date with them, took them home, had a good time, told them they had to leave, never called them again. I was good. It's just, it was something that I did. It was like, okay, I like you, you're all right, but I just don't see anything relationship wise going on with this particular person. But there was a vibe there. So I decided that I was going to fill this vibe out. It happened once, it never happened again. I'm 50 years old, so having 3 one night stands in 50 years, I think that's pretty good. But so what if a woman has had a one night stand? So what if a man has had a one night stand? As long as they did it safely, we should not judge somebody based off of the fact that they've had a one night stand. Things happen. Maybe you really did intend to call that person again, but after you had sex, you realized the sex really wasn't good and it really wasn't worth calling them again. Don't feel guilty and call them. Go on about your business and do what you got to do. So it's all about judgment. We don't have the right to judge anyone. So if someone chooses to have a one night stand, it's all good. Talking of judgment, and especially when it comes to women, for some reason lately, it's been a big thing to ask somebody their body count. And I feel some kind of way about asking a person their body count. Now, I have no desire to ask anybody their body count. If someone asks me mine, I'll tell them, but I always have a disclaimer. Whenever you ask me a question, I always say, make sure you can handle the answer because I'm not going to lie. If you can't handle the answer and you ask the question anyway, it's on you. So a lot of times when it comes to body counts, and for those of you that don't know what a body count is, a body count is the number of people someone has slept with in their lifetime. So as you know, for many people, the judgment is women are supposed to have a really small number and men, the bigger the better, which right there, that's so ass backwards. So honestly, if someone chose, I think it was Wilt Chamberlain back in the day, who said he had slept with like 10,000 women, and this became news. It was like all over. ESPN was talking about it. They was talking about it on the regular news. But if a woman had come out and said she had slept with 10,000 different men, could you imagine what they would have said about her? Oh, she'd have been a hoe. She'd have been a slut. Why? Tell me, what's the difference between the act of a woman having sex and an act of a man having sex with multiple people, other than the fact that there has been a label that women are supposed to be pure and women are supposed to be innocent and they're supposed to hold on to their cherry, their virginity until they get married. But a man is supposed to go out and sow his wild oats. It doesn't matter whether a man has done it or a woman has done it. If a man sleeps with 10,000 people and a woman sleeps with 10,000 people and you're going to call the woman a hoe or a slut, I need you to call that man a hoe or a slut. Stop doing that two-sided judgment on people. If that person has chosen to live their life that way, as long as they have not hurt anyone, then it's no one's right to judge a person based off of their body count. I remember I was in a relationship. This was back in the early 2000s, and we were talking, and we got on the subject of sex, and he didn't ask me my body count, but in talking, I realized that in my head, I was sitting there nervous because I was afraid that he was going to ask me my body count. Like I said, I'm not going to lie. But then I was sitting there going, okay, is he going to judge me because he thinks that the number that I'm going to tell him is too many? And then you go from there to say, okay, well, damn, is it too many? Well, shit, maybe I did sleep with too many people, or, stop. Please just stop. Don't do that to yourself, and please don't do that to others. And men, please stop doing that to women. If you're going to shame them, if you think that at some point that the number that they tell you is going to make you feel differently about them, don't ask that question. I've heard of men. You mean you've slept with 3 people? Well, damn, really 3? But in their mind, 3 was too many because I guess maybe she was supposed to be keeping herself for marriage. I don't know. So if you're gonna ask somebody that question and it's gonna then become a judgment on them, don't ask them the question because it's not that important whether they slept with 5 people or 500 people. They're still the same person that they are the moment before you ask them that question. So why ask them that question and let your mess, your prejudgment, muck up something that could have been really, really good? So let's go on to another topic. And one of the topics that I think is going to probably be a multi part topic on the show is a topic that we're calling losing your religion. In the African American community, most African Americans are Christian in some way, shape, or form. They they usually practice different denominations, but they are Christian. But we have seen a mass exodus from Christianity for Black folks, mostly younger. So we're talking probably 40, 50s and younger. They've started going back to some of the more traditional African based religions, even back to Islam, Yoruba. We can continue to name different religions that they've gone back to. The question is why? Why do you think that they're leaving Christianity and they're going back to what we can consider and call more of our root religions? And there's many answers to that. For some, it's just that disillusion that they have gotten with Christianity. Christianity can be a very, depending on who's preaching it, can be a very one-sided, sexist view and judgmental view of living. For many young people, they're not finding the satisfaction that many of our parents and grandparents have found with Christianity. And there's nothing wrong with that. But don't judge somebody because they have chosen to leave the Christian religion. I left Christianity 25 years ago, I think it was. I left Christianity and I went to a different religion, which is called Yoruba, which is an Afrocentric West African religion. And it was something that I found fulfillment in that I didn't find in Christianity. It felt right for me. But just because it felt right for me did not mean it would be right for everyone. I don't judge anyone who has decided to be Christian or Muslim or Buddhist or Hindu or any of the other religions that we can talk about, because I don't want anyone to judge me for the decisions that I've made. But religion is very judgmental. Even in the Bible, you hear a lot of judgment. So that's one of the topics that we are going to be talking about and sharing in our shows to come. Now, before we go to a music break, because we'll be going to one soon, I just want to say thank you for listening in to Power Plug Radio and Taboo Talk. It is hashtag Taboo Tuesday. And we hope that you will continue to listen in. We have several different shows that are on Power Plug Radio. We have the Man Cave that now comes on Thursdays. We have the Spill that comes on Wednesdays. We have a morning show, and we have several new shows that's going to be starting real soon. So, and also, as y'all can see, I got this drink in my hand, and it's really good. And this drink was made by Urban Drinkery. And when I tell you, Urban Drinkery makes some of the best drinks, and bartending services, bottle service. Look up Urban Drinkery. They deliver almost anything you want, they will have for you. So also, before we go to our first music break, one of the things I want to ask is for all those who are listening, send in topics. Send in some topics that you would love to hear us talk about on the show. Also, you can find us on Facebook. Taboo Talk, we have our own group where we go into this group and we talk about anything and everything. Also, look for Power Plug Radio. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. You can also find our app on on the Google Play Store and on the Amazon Alexa. So, and then you can also go to our website, which is www.powerplugradio. and you can listen live 24/7. Our radio station is a throwback jam station. So whenever you want to listen to some really good music, tune into Power Plug Radio. We are, sorry, internet based, and you can listen to us, like I said, 24/7. So we're getting ready to go to our first music break. So talk to you in a minute. Welcome back. This is the African Queen, and you are listening to Taboo Talk on Power Plug Radio. So, tonight we're talking about different topics that people consider taboo. And sorry about that. So, let's go on and talk about a few more topics before we close out for the night. So, taboo topics. So, let's look. One of the biggest taboos that I hear, especially when I talk to people in relationship, is the use of sex toys in their relationship. Most of the time, women want to do it and men don't. Um, I hear the excuse of, well, if she using that toy all the time, what can I do for her? Because she using that toy, and it's like, dude, you can do a lot. So I need you to stop with the small minded thinking. So remember one thing when it comes to sex toys. Sex is like, it's been around forever, because honestly, if it wasn't for sex, none of us would be here, including Adam and Eve. So yes, they do talk about sex in the Bible, and people back in the day, they had a lot of sex and they had a lot of children. So remember that sex is natural, and adding anything to it to enhance it just makes it better. We don't have a right to judge anybody based off of what they want to do, but also don't be closed minded about it. Try something new. Try a toy. It doesn't always have to be a dildo. Dildos are not the only sex toys in the world. We have a plethora of them. I actually have a catalog to prove it. So you can have bullets. You can have sex swings. You can have sexy sheets. You can do handcuffs. You can do whips, chains, lotions. I mean, I could keep going on and on. So keep that open mind. Don't let them scare you, because they can really enhance your relationship. You can find articles where it actually saved marriages when this was something that was introduced into a marriage. So it was something that saved their marriage. So please don't close yourself off to the possibility of something new and something great just because it frightens you a little bit. And guys, look, if a woman uses a toy, it doesn't replace you, okay? It does nothing but enhances what you're already doing. Just ask anybody who has done it. Ask a guy, if you know a guy who uses one with his girl, he'll tell you it's probably one of the best things that he ever did. So please do not, close that off. And don't make your spouse, whether it's your husband or your wife, don't make them feel bad because they asked for that, or they wanted something like that in the relationship. Don't do that to them. It's probably going to be a really good thing if you open yourself up to it. So, talking about something that people are judged by, men. Women, I'm gonna say this to you because I've been kind of picking on the men lately, and right now I'm gonna talk about y'all. Stop judging a man based off of his penis size. Stop judging a man based off of his dick size. Please stop doing that. You have all shapes and sizes. Some crook to the right, some crook to the left. Some are small and some are big. Now, guys, I'm going to say this. If you aren't working with everything that you wish you had, you need to learn how to make up for it. You can't expect something that may not be that substantial, is the way I'm going to put it. And that there is a slight possibility that there may not be complete satisfaction there, and you think that she's just supposed to deal with that. No, you need to make up for, excuse the way I'm getting ready to say this, your shortcomings. So, but ladies, stop judging a man based off of solely his dick size, and stop looking at men's shoes to see how big their feet are, because that can be very, very wrong. Okay, believe me, that can be really wrong. So, it's not always, and you've heard this, it's not always the size of it, but what you do with it. So that's something that we have a lot of different a lot of different topics that we can talk about when it comes to penis size, and we will be hitting on a lot of those throughout the show. um, Things that men can do to help increase their penis size, things that toys and things that you can add to help with the penis size. Ladies, stop judging men based off of that. If this is somebody that you care about and they happen to have what you would consider a small penis, because what's small for one woman may not be small for the other one, so you better watch out, because he may find somebody who will be perfectly happy with his 5 inches. So and stop telling them, ladies, please stop telling them about the man who you met in Jamaica that had a dick swinging down his thigh. They don't need to hear that. They really, really don't. You make them self-conscious. They really don't need to hear about, what do they call them? Dexter St. Jock. I think that's what Eddie Murphy called him in his show. They don't need to hear about that. But help them help you. Men listen, women don't criticize. You wouldn't want them to criticize you about your fupa. You wouldn't want them to criticize you because maybe your breast isn't as big as that they like it. You wouldn't want that, so please don't do that to them. So we're gonna get off that topic because I know I'm making some men uncomfortable with that one. So let's jump to, I talked about fupas. Let's talk about plus size women. I just recently, since COVID, got onto TikTok, and I didn't know what TikTok was, and then I got on TikTok, and it's really interesting. But one of the things, because I am a plus size woman, I've gotten tuned into what they call plus size TikTok. And going to plus size TikTok, it's really nice because you see women of your size and stature who, they share a lot of good tips, tips about places to get clothes that fit us right, shoes. I'm a boot loving woman, but it's really, really hard for me to find thigh high boots because my legs are thick. So I've found a lot of good places when it comes to TikTok. But one of the things that I also came across on TikTok is the body shaming, and it's really unfortunate. We don't always know why somebody is bigger, why someone is thick. And let me tell you, right now during COVID, everybody done gained weight because we ain't had nothing to do but eat. So a lot of us has gained weight. I am one of them. I've probably gained about 30 pounds since COVID started last March. I am not happy about it. I am going to do something about it. But you know what? Right now, because of work and life, I don't have the time to do what I need to do. So you're going to love me for what I got. And yes, I have a fupa, and I got a big ass, and I got thighs, and everything else to go along with it. So my thing is if you don't like it, just keep going. You don't have to comment. It broke my heart seeing some of the nasty negative comments that were being made to plus size women. Now, the plus size men, they was calling them teddy bears. The plus size women, they were calling them morbidly obese. Come on. Big is big. So please stop the body shaming when it comes to plus sizes. Now, I'm not telling you that if you're not a man who's attracted to plus size women, I mean, you got to sit up there and compliment them. No, what I'm saying is just don't say anything. Go on over there and find your little skinny Victoria's Secret Instagram model body that you like, and then go and talk to them. But don't criticize a woman based off of the fact that she's a little fluffy in places that you don't like fluff. Go find a place that you like, and leave her alone. So we know that right now we've been living in a time where politics has become heated. And one of the things that many people call an oxymoron is Black Republicans. Yes, they exist. Yes, they are real. And yes, there's probably more Black Republicans than you know. Um, Back in the day, during the time of Lincoln, after Lincoln freed the slaves, when many Black people, they became Republican, and most of us did not switch over to the Democratic Party until FDR. So up until FDR, we were Republicans, and then we switched over. But many people, they find themselves aligning with the conservative values of Republicans, and it's something that you've probably made the face when you hear somebody say a Black Republican, or they go, he's a Republican, and you go, what? Yes, we have Black Republicans, but the one thing is that, and I want to be nice in saying this, for those who are Black Republicans, there's always the question of why, and a lot of times, especially now in the time of Trump, when you ask a Black person who is a Republican, not all but some, why they're Republican, it's always a laundry list of great things that supposedly Donald Trump has done. If you're going to be a Black Republican, or if you're going to be a Black Democrat, Independent, Green Party, I don't care who it is, when someone asks you why you have chosen to do this, give them a good answer. If you choose to give them an answer, you don't always have to, but give them a good answer. Saying I grew up Republican, I need you to think outside of a box. I need you to go and explore and find out and make sure that that really is in line with your values. A lot of times we will criticize people. Many Black Democrats are Democrats because why? Mama, daddy, grandmama, granddaddy, auntie, uncle, second cousin down the street. We were all Democrat. My nephew, I took him and my son to vote, and it was for the second election for Barack Obama. And so we went, and I talked to them, leading up to it. And when we got to the polling place, and my nephew got his ballot, he said, okay, I'm just doing Democrat all the way down the line. And I was like, no, you don't do that. You don't vote for a person just because they're Democrat. You vote for a person because you feel that you align with their values. Learn the candidates. Just because they have a D behind their name doesn't mean they're good, and just because they have an R behind their name doesn't mean they're bad. So we have to be able to open ourselves up, not only to the person who's running, but open yourself up to the fact that you may have a family member, and you probably do, who is a Black Republican. And don't judge them. If that's their choice, that's their choice, because just like it's their choice to be Republican, it is your choice to be a Democrat. So I always want you to make sure that you are open to that. So one of the last topics that I want to talk about before we close out for the night is a topic that for many years, and still quite today, has been a very big taboo topic in the Black community, and that's suicide. That was something that you didn't talk about. If someone in the family committed suicide, it was hush hush. The family usually made up a story about what happened, quote unquote. But suicide is a direct result of some sort of mental illness, whether it is depression or bipolarism or schizophrenia. But at some point, life got hard. And when that happens, for many people, they sink. What was the movie? Get Out, the sunken place. when she pulled a dude down into the sunken place. We watched that movie and we saw it. But for those who suffer from mental illness, for those who suffer from depression, that sunken place is real. And a lot of times there's no light at the end of that tunnel, of that sunken place. They can't see anything beyond the depression And depression hurts. It hurts physically, it hurts mentally, it hurts spiritually. So, one of the reasons why we do see suicide in our Black community is we don't talk about it enough. We should talk about it. Don't hide it. Don't hide depression. If Uncle John committed suicide, talk about that. A lot of times, mental illness, whether it's depression or bipolarism or whatever, it can be hereditary. So you will hear about people where they've had one or two or more suicides in a generation of a family. That's because one, it was hereditary, and two, nobody talked about it. You know, in the black homes, many times they say, go talk to God and it'll get better. That doesn't work. It doesn't always work. God as a part of the equation, yes, but sending somebody to talk to the pastor at the church is not going to fix their depression. I don't care how much you believe in it. I don't care what religion you practice. We need to learn to talk about these things. We're starting to see, especially since the internet has become popular, younger and younger people committing suicide. I remember, broke my heart, little boy, he was 10 years old, little Black boy. He had been being bullied at school. His mama was trying to get stuff straight. The school really wasn't paying attention to it. They kind of ignored the mom. The little boy came home one day, sat down. Him and his mom had dinner. She said it was a really good dinner. He told her he was going upstairs to get himself ready for the next day. When she went and knocked on his door and opened his door, he was hanging from the ceiling fan and he had hung himself. He was 10 years old. He had been bullied that much in school. And the mother was devastated because she was trying the best she could, and it still didn't work. But we have to learn to talk to our people, to our family members. If you see someone who seems depressed, talk to them, but don't let happiness always fool you. Robin Williams was one of, when he was in front of a camera, he was as happy as he wanted to be. He had a smile on his face and he got joy out of putting smiles on other people's faces. But he had lived in a dark tunnel for a very long time, and the pain was too much for him to handle. There was a musician, and I can't remember the band that he was with, but his wife, a few months after he committed suicide, she posted a home video of him just a couple of days before he actually shot himself, and they were having family night. He was laughing and joking. He seemed like the happiest person in the world, and 2 days later he killed himself. So suicide is something that we don't need to push to the side. It is something that we need to talk about. We need to talk to our children about it. We need to talk about our mental health, especially now during COVID. This is a hard time right now. We are looking at people who have lost their jobs. We are looking at people who have lost their homes. We're looking at people who have unnecessarily lost their loved ones, and they don't know what the end, when this is going to end, and how they're going to get out of this sunken place that they're in right now. So make sure you love people, make sure you talk to people, and check on those people. Check on older people. Check on people who live alone. Check on especially those people who are working from home and they never leave their house. That is not always a good thing. Please check on people, the ones you love and the ones you care about, and talk. Talk to your children, talk to your family members, talk to people about suicide. And if by chance you are in a place right now where you feel that you can't get yourself out, reach out for help. And I know that it's not always easy, but people will not judge you. There are people out there right now who are sitting by a phone waiting to call you, and they will talk to you. Call a friend, call the suicide helpline, go to a hospital, do whatever you can, but you have a life to live. So please do not think that no one loves you and no one wants to listen to you, because there are people out there who care. So we have about 10 minutes left. And before I close out, I just want to say once again, you are listening to The African Queen on Taboo Talk on Power Plug Radio. You can find us on the Amazon store, the Google Play Store, and you can download our app from any of those. And you can also find us at www.powerplugradio.com and listen to us live on our radio show. We are a throwback jam radio station, 24/7 internet based, so you can listen to us from anywhere in the world. So please tune in every Tuesday for Taboo Talk from 8 to 9. If you have any topics you want us to talk about, just hit us up on our Facebook page and give us those topics, and we will talk about it. And if you think that this is a topic that you would love to call in, we will be having a number for people to be able to call in. And starting next week, we will be having different guest hosts depending on our topics. So what I want to say to everyone is thank you so very much for listening into our show tonight. You can see us live on Facebook and YouTube. Have a great night, and please, please, please stay safe.